So, hi everyone, welcome to the 0 to 159th episode. I am Sneha and I'll be your host for today's session. For those of you joining us for the first time, 0 to 1 is a weekly series powered by Do a Circle. Basically, this is a platform where we invite or bring together inspiring leaders, experts who share their learnings, their journey, what they went through throughout their business journey, or maybe personal or professional. That will actually help. That actually helps freelancers, small business owners, independent doers to learn and grow as a community, right? So, and today's topic couldn't be more relevant for our community, especially for those who are, juggling between multiple roles, chasing deadlines, and while at it, forgetting to, take care of themselves or take a break or not burn out. So that's what we are going to discuss in today's session: how to grow your business or career without burning out. And for to detail this out further, I would like to invite and welcome Namrata Kohli, the speaker of the day. She is a resilience coach. She is also a founder of Coaching with Nam. And also our one of our coaching partners. She is basically providing 30 minutes free consultations to all our premium members. So, people who have joined right now are not a premium member. I will put out a link, share a link on the chat. You can go there and sign up and become a member. And if you want, become a premium member as well, if you want to, get these benefits for yourself. So, without further ado, I would give the stage to Namrata. Hi, Namrata. Welcome on board. And it's pleasure to have you with us. And you can just briefly introduce yourself and take the session ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Neha. Congrats on the 59th session. It's an incredible commitment to do this on a weekly basis, and I'm really happy to be here to talk to your members and everybody else about growth without burnout.
Thank you
Um,
so much, Namrata.
yeah, so if it's okay, Sneha, I would love to present um, and start sharing as I kick this off. I think you might need to stop sharing before I can. Perfect. Thank you. All right. And Sneha, if I can ask that you to give me a quick thumbs up that you can see the slides. Yeah, okay. Great. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Namrata, also fondly known as Nam by my friends, and I see a couple of you in the attendees list there. So it's nice to see you join the session. I'm really happy to be here talking about something that I deeply care about. It's something that I've lived and learned, and now I help others navigate as a coach, which is how to grow your business or career without burning out. So, over the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to weave in themes of burnout, resilience, authenticity, and then we'll keep some time for questions as we end. So, by way of an introduction, I am now a resilience coach. I published a book last year, so I like calling myself an author, and I am a former tech professional, so it gives me a bit of an exciting thrill to call myself, to say that I have a portfolio career now. I've lived and worked in India, in Singapore, and I'm currently based in Bali. Most of my work today is with people who care deeply about what they do, whether you're in a full time corporate job or you're running a business. And sometimes we tend to lose ourselves in the process, and that's a lot of the work that I do. So, as I transition, let me just share a little bit about my own story. Um, I've always been a bit of a doer. As a kid, I loved ticking boxes, collecting stars, finishing projects early, and I always found comfort in progress and achievement. And somewhere along the way, kind of doing became my identity. In my tech career, that identity really served me well. So I spent almost 18 years between companies like Meta and Microsoft. And on paper, I had great projects, a good performance, clear growth, but somewhere inside, I had started to notice that I was running on an empty tank. And I told myself that this is normal. It's just what ambition looks like. It's a little cost of success. Until early last year, life offered me a very sharp pause. Last year, I happened to be in Hualien in Taiwan when the island was hit by the strongest earthquake it had seen in 25 years. My husband and I happened to be on a holiday when we were hiking, and the earthquake, which struck maybe 10 kilometers from where we were with a very strong 7.4 magnitude, caused a tunnel in which we were hiking to partially collapse. So, through that time, we spent more than 24 hours hooked up inside a tunnel before making a dangerous hike to safety from where rescue teams could reach us. And there's something about being that close to the edge that makes priorities just rearrange themselves really quickly. So while those hours were quiet and very confronting, they forced me to stop and sit and listen in a way that I hadn't done in years. So, the things that I used to worry most about, the deadlines, the emails, the metrics, it started to fade into the background. And that process, as I started listening and really paying attention to my body, my energy, and my values, is what led to me writing a book and eventually started this chapter as a resilience coach. So today I help others, especially leaders in fast paced environments, to really reconnect with what drives them so that growth doesn't come at the cost of well being. Yeah. So, for folks who are on the call, I just want to invite you to take a moment to reflect on your own life. And if you've had a moment that really forced you to stop, what did it tell you about what truly matters to you?
Like I could say that when I reflect on myself and my life, I think my family truly matters for me.
Yes.
Like spending time with them and, just being there for them is something that I feel.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Sneha. So, as funny enough, as I'm transitioning, even when I did start my own business, family is super important to me too. A few other things really did come up through the past few months. And yet, when I started my own business, my coaching practice, I found myself slipping back into some of the old patterns. Like many people who start their own businesses, I also started to do work that really matters. I wanted to be my own boss. I really wanted to make an impact and align what I do with who I am. But somewhere along the way, I started also chasing a version of success that wasn't really mine. I noticed the chase for titles, visibility, numbers started to show up. These things that look good from the outside, but don't always feel intrinsically good. And no wonder 75% of leaders experience burnout, right? I noticed that I had started performing instead of really creating, and that starts to get exhausting. So, what happens in burnout and what we start to experience, it's often seen as exhaustion. So, when I noticed that this was happening for me, I found myself procrastinating a lot. And then when I procrastinated, I would shame myself for procrastinating. And I started to lose joy in what once inspired me. So, I was working hard, and yet somehow it started to feel kind of pointless. And that's what made me realize, and research confirms this, that we're actually not burning out from working too hard. We're burning out from working disconnected from ourselves. So when your actions stop matching your inner values, something is starting to fray. And burnout is actually not a sign of failure. It's our system's way of just saying something needs to change. Something's asking for attention. Yeah? So the opposite of burnout sometimes is, we refer to as, or it just brings up as resilience. If I'm resilient, I don't burn out. So I want to spend some time talking about resilience because that is often quite misunderstood. So I'm going to spend some time now on just exploring what resilience is and what it isn't. And if we have the opportunity to get some inputs from people who are attending here, I would love to invite that either in the chat um, or if you want to just share what is resilience in a word or a small sentence. And Sneha, since I can't see the chat, if there's anything that's coming in, I'd love for you to
Yeah,
share.
I have given you the access. You can also see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Give folks a couple of seconds. Ability to sustain. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. What else? The ability to respond to a challenging situation. Yeah. Thank you, Meg. Not giving up. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so, yes, and one clarifying piece that I want to really share up front is that resilience is quite different from endurance, right? It's the ability to respond, not react. It's the ability to recover and be adaptable. So it's not pure toughness as it sometimes comes up, it's the ability to realign. You know, I once worked with a tech founder who thought resilience just meant outworking everyone. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to like this, do it all. And he wore his exhaustion like a badge of honor until his body kind of forced him to stop. And so through the work, we redefined what resilience is. And it turns out it's not about how much you can handle, but about how well you can recover. So, real resilience is not endurance, it's adaptability. It's the ability to pause and reset and respond, not just react. Now, endurance sometimes pretends and shows up as resilience, right? So, it may show up as overworking, it may hide as, you know, I'm ambitious and this is the cost of attaining something I want to. So, I'm really overworking. Or it may show up as people pleasing, which is compromising my own values, a sense of my identity, or sacrificing that in order to please people I work with. Or it could even be pleasing investors, pleasing clients, pleasing my team members. In some cases, we're even trying to please friends and family, right? So it's coming out in that form. It may also manifest as trying to control the outcomes. So a strong need for perfection. The more I do, the more that's within my control, the more resilient I may think I am. But really, it's endurance masking itself as resilience. The other way is that you think you're resilient if you're constantly moving the goalpost forward, which it is really not. So that's a myth, right? That's enduring because you're not taking the ability to celebrate the wins and reflect on how far you've come. So endurance is the one that's pretending and sometimes wearing a mask to show up as resilience. So another reflection here is, can you think about a time when you endured something and called it resilience? Or can you think of a time when you did celebrate a win, no matter how small? Yeah. Feel free to share responses in the comments, but some of these can be fairly personal. So it's totally okay if you're also not looking to reflect and share. I'll just take a second to open up the chat. Okay. All right. So then moving from this into one of my favorite topics, which is authenticity, because the more aligned you are, the less you need to perform. So let's talk about authenticity. And this is one of those words that we hear a lot, but rarely slow down to ever feel. And so here's a question I often ask my clients, and I'd love for you to think about it for yourself. What would you do if no one was watching? If there was nothing to lose, no expectations, no pressure, no LinkedIn updates to post, what would you do? That's where authentic leadership starts. It's when your choices are coming from your values and not from having to maintain a certain image or a perception. It's being able to trust that it's okay, it's safe enough for me to be human. I can make mistakes and I don't have to have it all figured out. And when we come from that place is when real trust starts to build, the kind that comes through transparency and not through performance. What's very, very closely tied to authenticity is having awareness of your values. And I used to hate when people asked me this question. I would go like, I don't know, honesty, integrity. I don't know what my values are really. But then I kind of flipped the question, which is trying to understand or just paying attention to where in your life do you hear yourself talking in shoulds versus in wants. Sometimes we hear these thoughts and we actually say them out loud so many times. I should have achieved this by now. I should have more clients, more projects. I should be promoted or be at a certain level. I need to raise funds, be profitable. There's a lot of these shoulds, and it comes from I need to, I have to. Um, but usually underneath those shoulds, need tos, and have tos is something softer. There's a there's a want somewhere in there. Like for me, I want more creative space. I want to be respected for who I am. I want to do meaningful work. And I really want to lead in a way that feels real to me. And so when you start listening to that want, is when you start to uncover what those values are. And it goes beyond being buzzwords and values that you often see put up in like office corridors or like websites and statements of mission and vision. And that's when that alignment and clarity starts to build. So we'll talk now about signs of burnout. How do you know that something is happening that is asking for your attention? And I like to say that the body whispers before it shouts, because burnout is not showing up overnight. You're not just getting exhausted overnight. It's building quietly. You're starting to notice early signs and a Sunday dread, brain fog or irritability, or you're just feeling numb to the winds that used to once excite you. It's showing up as feelings of being an imposter, this constant, I don't think I belong, I don't match up, I can't compare myself to other people. Um, and if I do, that I'm going to be far, far behind. It's showing up as the inability to sometimes make decisions. Or even if you've made a decision, you're constantly second guessing that decision, feeling stuck and at a crossroads for what some people might say are small, but each decision point feels like a really big deal. You might be ruminating over every discussion or every conversation. You might find yourself over helping, over committing to other people in an attempt to either please or control outcomes. And then this last one is the sense that this belief that this is what life is about, this is what I need to do to be successful, is the sense that I have to grit, 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 and then release. So it's either on the weekends or it's on, the next holiday that I can finally let go. Yeah. So I want to invite us to take a deep breath together. And as you're taking this breath, I want you to just reflect on where in your body is it feeling like it's carrying more than its share. So I'll join you. Let's do this together. Where in your body does it feel like it's carrying more than its share? Again, I'll wait a few seconds here for anybody who might want to share anything in the chat. Okay. Yeah. All right. So then we'll transition into what really happens in burnout through the lens of IFS, which is a coaching modality that I bring into my practice. IFS is an abbreviation for internal family systems. And the way we look at this is that burnout isn't just about doing too much, but it's about what's happening between different parts of us. You know how we talk about a part of me really wants this client, but the other part wants to really not put up with something, or a part of me says I really want to confront somebody, but you know what, I'm really not in the mood to handle this conflict and backlash that goes with it. Or I'm done with this job, but I don't think I will be able to handle running my own business. So we have all of these different parts that are working to protect us in some shape or form, but often are at odds with each other. And that's leading to a lot of conflict internally. So IFS helps to unblend and to separate that. So different parts of us are working against each other, really trying to help us in the only way they know how. So I'll give you an example. There's all of us have parts, as per the IFS philosophy. Parts are either protectors or parts that are trying to keep us safe. And then there are parts which, in some shape or form, are carrying pain or hurt. So, what's happening in burnout is that protective parts are either overworking or overreacting, and we are losing access to a calm sense of self leadership. So, protective parts are either proactive in that they are trying to prevent pain by keeping you in control. So, these are the parts that are saying, work harder, don't slow down, stay productive. Or they're reactive. So these are the parts that step in when stress has already broken through and they're saying, you know what, just exit. I can't handle this business anymore. I need to quit this job. I'm not going to respond to this because this is like beyond me now. So it's either saying escape, or these parts are saying, let's just scroll, snack, binge, or exit, right? But basically, these parts which are protecting are really just guarding and trying to keep some of the more vulnerable, softer parts, which are either tired and exhausted or carrying some sort of fear, shame, sadness, or guilt. So, what we do through really creating space to notice which parts are coming up, depending on the situation that you're handling, is instead of trying to silence them and just shut it off and say, I don't have time for you right now, we get curious about these parts. What are they trying to protect me from? What do they need from me? And when we understand our parts, that's when it starts to become a guide back to resilience and authenticity. So, how do we catch it earlier and rebuild? So, when things feel too much, there's three steps that I do work with my clients on. The first one is to just pause before powering through, because it's very natural for us to want to power through really quickly, ignore everything that's happening on the background and say, I'm going to push through. If I just get this one more thing done, then I can relax. Then I can, I don't know, do that thing that I'm, reward myself. But before powering through, what if you just paused for a little bit and asked, why? What is making me do this? Why am I doing it? And is this really the most important thing I could be doing right now? The second thing is, if you're noticing that this is starting to become regular, pay attention to what could be some of your biggest energy leaks. Yeah. So sometimes it's not about just doing a lot, but it's about doing things that are draining you. So what tasks are you doing quite often to avoid guilt? Again, we're looking out for the shoulds, the need tos, and have tos. And in those cases, can we think of anybody that we can ask for help, or where can we delegate? Yeah. And very important with this energy leak, as much as we're figuring out what is coming from a place of obligation, it's also important to anchor back in my values. What is that thing that I really want to? So if I'm doing something, which of my personal values is it honoring? And is there anything that I need to shift to better align with my core values? So, this one client I worked with, a marketing lead, they came to me feeling constantly reactive. Like I'm juggling client calls, I have team deadlines, I'm constantly putting out fires. And we did an energy audit. For a week, we tracked what drained them and what energized them. Turns out their biggest leak wasn't the workload, it was just saying yes to things that they felt didn't matter. And so part of the work that we did together was setting some boundaries. And as they started setting these micro boundaries, just basically saying, not this week, or maybe I'll get to that in the next sprint, their stress levels dropped and their confidence started to grow. Yeah. So clarity is often not found in just doing more. It's often found in protecting your energy and really focusing on what matters. And I want to say, I know what you're thinking. This is easier said than done, right? If I'm in the middle of an emotional, possibly burnout like situation, I'm not going to be able to be objective and take a pause and identify my energy leaks and do this values work. I get it. It's not possible. If somebody told me this, I would be rolling my eyes at there. So that's really where working with a coach or an objective third person comes in. Yeah. It's not coming in as advice or somebody telling you what to do. It's coming in as somebody who can hold space and be a mirror to notice what's happening for you. So, coaching really is a partnership. We notice, we rebuild, and then we stay accountable. So, the first thing we do in a coaching container is to decode what's happening for you in your life. How is it manifesting? What are you experiencing? What are you feeling? And what would you like to see differently? So, we'll visualize what you would like to see happen differently. The second thing we do is that we start to rebuild that clarity and confidence. We will anchor in your core values. We will align actions to why, what's driving you to either be really frustrated and stuck or really driven by something else. So we kind of distill and work through that. And finally, you have an accountability partner in a coach. Not only do we sort of keep you accountable week on week on the progress, on the goals, on the actions that you wanted to take, but we will also celebrate the wins, the big ones and the small ones. Yeah. So one of my clients, also a business owner, came to me feeling completely exhausted and she is doubting herself. The imposter in her had her ready to quit. We did some reflection on values, we did boundaries work, and through that process, she rediscovered her ability to say no to some work and decline some projects. But she also hired a part time team. And as she started to delegate pieces of the work, not only did the revenue improve, but also, and for me, this is the biggest win. She said that I laugh at work again. And that's what we can achieve by working with an objective partner who's not invested and doesn't have their own agenda, which is where coaching can really differ from talking through with a good friend or a mentor. So it has its own unique space in bringing that objectivity. It's helping you to hear what somewhere you already know to be true, but perhaps you haven't taken the chance to really listen yet. And when we're coming from a place of curiosity rather than judgment, over time, we build that muscle for self leadership.
Namrata, if you don't mind, can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Many of us feel guilty for taking breaks. I
Hmm.
mean, they feel that, I took a break today. Maybe tomorrow I have to, work extra. So, how do you change this kind of mindset?
Hmm. I think, um, Sneha, the first thing we do is we don't try to change the mindset, right? We try to get curious about where it's coming from. So if you're open to it, maybe we can just get curious about this guilt. Like, what is it saying? And how are you experiencing it? And if you're open, I'd love to invite this dialogue.
Yeah, for example, I am as a professional quite, work oriented. Like I like to finish my work during the time I have, and I like to do everything on one day. Even
Mm,
if I can, say that, okay, these things can be done tomorrow. But I, as a person, I am a person that wants to do it today itself. And if
mm,
I don't do it, there's this thing in my mind that, I didn't complete this task.
mhm,
I have to get up tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, and I'll complete it. Otherwise, my mental stability is gone. So
mm,
those kind of, guilt. I took a break today for 1 or 2 hours. I have to work extra tomorrow.
mhm.
So that's the kind of, conversation that is happening in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing a strong sense of um, if I don't do it today, tomorrow is going to be heavier.
Yes.
And so there is a desire to feel light.
Hmm. But that light doesn't come. Every day it's same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that knowing that that is the case, and if nothing changes in 3 months from now, what is at stake?
I mean, your life, your stability, your work life balance. I think these things, your family time.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you were doing it perfectly, if you were able to take a break and not carry the guilt, or take a break and not worry about tomorrow, how would that impact life and time with your family?
I think it's a ongoing process. It's not just one day you think that this would help. I think that's the mindset that you have to build in over the journey. I mean, it will not just change in one day. I feel that you have to practice this on a daily basis. Okay, don't think about tomorrow. Just think about today. Just stable your mind today. I think that's what will help.
Hmm. And as you're saying that, Sneha, how is it feeling for you to be able to put that to the test for one day, perhaps today?
I have never practiced that, but I would definitely, after this session, maybe I could
Yeah.
definitely do 1 day or 2 days and see how it changes my mindset, or yeah, how it changes my work style.
Yeah.
I think it's a practice that we have to inculcate.
Yeah, so I'll bring us back from this, Sneha. I kind of didn't mean to put you in the spot, but it kind of organically came up, so I couldn't miss the opportunity to do a very mini mock.
I think, yeah, 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 yeah. I think that's what it's for our audience as well. Like what kind of questions you ask, or what kind of, reflection that audience has to have to do to reflect upon themselves.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for opening yourself up to this, and I also want to acknowledge you for um, engaging in these few questions. Coaching also, I want to make sure that people understand, can be a fairly um, it can be an uncomfortable process because there are questions which stretch and challenge you to really think differently. They're coming in the service of your own goals and objectives that you've outlined, but it's often not about judging. So, at no point as a coach would I judge you for saying that, or offer advice. But it's really about getting curious and what it means for you. Because the reality is, you and I are completely different people. And what my values are very different from yours. And um, you have to be in that situation. So I can very easily offer how I deal with that guilt, but it may not apply equally for you. So what we need to do is to really understand what feels right for you, what is possible for you in your life and circumstances. And then, yeah, find an accountability partner and celebrate those wins. So it doesn't have to be a change that happens for the next 3 months until our next session, but every week when we touch base, we're going to celebrate what you did or weren't able to do and then course correct through the process. All right. So we'll switch from here into next steps. And if anything today resonated, and if you recognize some of your own patterns in my stories or those of my clients, I want you to know that you're not alone. I do offer one on one coaching for leaders who want to grow without burning out. And these are structured 6 or 12 session packages, which are also now available on the Doer Circle platform. So you can either book the 6 or 12 session package directly through Doer Circle. And as Sneha mentioned as we started, for premium members, I'm also offering a free 30-minute chemistry session where we explore what you would like to shift and whether coaching with me might help you get there. So we're going to wrap up with some final takeaways. If there's one thing that I want to leave you with, it is this, that burnout is not a sign that you're weak. It could be a sign that you've been strong for too long in the wrong way. Yeah. Resilience is not about pushing through, it's about being able to recover and adapt. And authentic leadership isn't about having all the answers, but it's really about staying connected to your own values and what's true to you. And growth without burnout is absolutely possible. It's happening when your growth and well being are moving together. So, thank you so much for spending this time with me. We will now just close with my contact details in case you'd like to reach out. You can find my email, my Instagram, and my LinkedIn QR code in case you'd like to scan that to connect. And of course, you can sign up on Doer Circle if you'd like to get that 30-minute chemistry session. So I'll pause here for a few seconds in case you want to scan that QR code or note the contact details. And then I will stop sharing so we can take any questions. All right. If anybody didn't get a screenshot or you want me to pull up the slide again, just drop it in the chat. All right. And then Sneha, do we have any questions or?
Um, we don't have in the chat, but from like I have a lot of questions. I'll just ask one. So basically, for our audience, basically, freelancers and young entrepreneurs or people who have just started business, they don't have a lot of time to reflect upon themselves, and they want to do everything on one day, and they are actually in pressure to start their business, and have this pressure that they want to build something. What advice that you have for them, people who don't have anyone, like for example, freelancers don't have a boss, or people who are working independently, they work with a team but they don't have a boss, they don't have anyone to talk about. So what's one advice that you can give for those people, freelancers or independent doers, that can help in terms of resilience?
I think the biggest thing that has helped me is to anchor in your purpose and the why. Because the reason why you're often pushing yourself so hard, when it's coming from a place of, I'm passionate about the subject, I care about making a difference, I um, am doing this because of something which is very intrinsically driven. It's not about how much work you're doing because then it's energizing you. So the more you do, the more you're feeling fueled and energized. And that's a wonderful place to be. So I would never say stop doing it, or my advice would never be cut time or sleep better. I know people who travel, work 12 to 15 hours a day and are getting energized by it. So double thumbs up to folks who are in that state, and you go achieve what you want to, because there is no limit. There is no such need to get advice from somebody on what I should do differently. Is for anybody who is saying that I don't know why I'm doing it. I've lost my sense of purpose. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I really think something needs to change. That's where we go into and a conversation that comes from a place of curiosity about what's still keeping you back. What are you afraid of would happen if something changed? And often there's a fear somewhere in there, right? So we don't try to overcome or just bulldoze over that fear. We approach it with compassion because often people have very real reasons for staying in an environment. And when we're approaching it with that curiosity rather than trying to bulldoze over it, is when that shift and realignment can happen. I
So
know I didn't
basically, it's
specifically answer
healthy
your
to
question, but
have this mindset, right? Like it's a healthy mindset.
I'd say it's very subjective. So I want to acknowledge, Sneha, that I may not have exactly answered your question about what advice do I have,
Mhm.
because it's very
Mhm.
different for every person. So there is, I will actually steer away from giving a one size fits all advice because for some people, doing a lot is motivating them in a beautiful way. For other people, it's draining away. So we're identifying what it is for you, and that's different from anybody else who's on this call, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's anchor in your values. If I have to generalize, anchor in your values and figure out what's draining your energy. Eliminate those things and focus more on what's giving you energy. Okay,
Yeah.
you're welcome, Trevor.
Um, I don't think so. We have questions from the audience, so we'll just end the session now. Um, so thank you so much, Namrata. I think this was a wonderful session, especially like I could relate to and got a lot of learning, and would definitely apply this in my day to day work. And thank you everyone who joined us today. And I hope you enjoyed this session and took away some learning. And if you'd like to connect with Namrata, I hope you have noted down the details of our the contact details. And if you want to explore a one-to-one session through Duo Circle Premium membership, I have put out a link in the chat. You can just go there and register for yourself first, and then become a premium member. That's how you can get a free 30-minute consultation. So that's all I think for today's 0 to 1 session. I think it was wonderful, and we'll see you again in the next one. That's it. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you,
Thanks for
Namrata.
having
Thanks
me.
again.
Take care. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.